Did you do the test?
What? I can't hear you. What happened?
Did you do the test? Did you
The
complete
midterm,
the exam?
this right here.
Ah, yes.
Thank you. Yaz?
Yes, I did it.
Awesome. And Celeste?
Yes.
Great. And Wendy?
Yo aún no, pero sí lo chequé, es que tuve muchos, ¿cómo se dice? Tuve que estudiar por la semana de exámenes.
Wendy, it's possible to check today, Hector, because yes.
So she'll have it done today, you said?
Yeah, she was in like a week for exams.
Okay, that's fine. So maybe sometime this weekend, Wendy, since you're already ahead on Trailhead, we'll give you a pass. So go ahead and get that done in on, this weekend. So for everybody else, we're going to start grading the test, and just really, like I said before, it's really going to be just to give you feedback and see where there are areas that you can improve, where we may need to focus on. But what I want to do is just do a quick look at some LinkedIns before we get started with Barbara here, because one of the pieces of homework I asked for is to update some of your LinkedIn. And so I guess I'm not connected with Wendy. Well, let's go to Yaz. Yaz, were you able to update and connect with more people since last week?
Yes, I connect with Tony, Celeste, Aranza, I think Barbara, Grisel, I think that's all.
Good.
That's really good. Yeah, so continue to connect with more people. I see you have Trailhead on here. You've got student. Yeah, so you've got your lightning, you got your badges here. That's really good. I just see, your super badges. So one thing I'd probably say is there should be a way to put all your Trailhead stuff, like you're a ranger. So I would focus on that this week.
Hector, wasn't there a way, like when you log on to Trailhead, that it'll automatically push it to LinkedIn?
Yeah, so here's the easiest way to do it. So I'm going to show you a little trick here. It's actually, you can just Google Salesforce and then put, I think it's, that's for certifications. Let's see. I know there's a way to do it.
I remember last week when you logged in, it flashed something. It was like a button you could click. I think.
That was for certifications. So that, I don't think anybody has certs yet. But
okay, gotcha. With
that being said, is it logging me in through my Elastic account? I don't want that. God. Yeah, give me a second. Log into Trailhead through the right way. Yeah, there's a way to simply do this. Let me see if I can. I don't want to recover. So yeah, there it is. Okay. No, I don't want to link. It thinks that now I have 2 Trailhead accounts. I have one. I don't want to link. I'll try this again later. Let's go through here again. So let's see. Celeste, check yours out. You have Trailhead, you got student, you got more connections. Very good. Continue to build these out. I like this. You have your course there. Yeah, so under skills, there's going to be an area, and when Barbara starts her presentation and coverage of the super badge, I'll figure out how to get the Trailhead linking. I have issues with logging in today on it. So Celeste and Yaz, both of you need to connect your Trailhead stuff. So that's okay. Let's see who else.
Check out Joanna's. She did a good job.
Okay. How much coffee have you had today, David?
3 cups.
Oh, God.
I've been up since 6. I'll
Wow.
I had whiskey last night, so let's slow down a little bit. So Johanna, look at that. Let's get 23 connections. Very good. this looks better. So if we notice, Johanna's has, and then I'm not picking on anybody. I want to make sure that you guys have a pretty good idea. So if we look at Yaz, she has, education, Salesforce by Trailhead, but Johanna, license and certification. So you can see the business specialist. These are the badges, the super badges. Right here, I don't think we have that for Yaz, and I think as well as Celeste. So what I'm going to do is, like I said, while Barbara is kicking off some of the training today, I'll send you guys the instructions on how to do this. Who else have I not pulled up? Is it I've done Celeste, Wendy? I'm not connected to Wendy. Let's do it. One more. I'll connect with Wendy here. All right, Aranza, you got 10 connections. Good. Yeah, you have the trailhead here on the education. So what I'm going to help you guys with today in the background, I'll send some messages, is how to connect your ranger status. That's actually going to be important. I would also consider, so there are other things you can add here. I think you have, so I can endorse. So these are me endorsing, right? So I'll actually endorse some of you guys this morning as well. So I know this seems really kind of picky, but all of this stuff is important. And what you won't see is this button here, which is what I have access to. I have access to a recruiter license. And I'm not going to go through all of this, but what it means is, as a recruiter, as somebody who's hiring, I get to look at some of this data a little differently, and I get to do searches. I get to see who maybe is a ranger, who has certifications. So please keep this in mind. Continue to put more work into your LinkedIn. David, I don't know if they have additional folks to connect to. I know you've done a great job of sharing it in some of the inbox stuff, but I'll probably send some more people to connect to, like Stephanie, some of the individuals that were presenting at the beginning of class that work at Salesforce. And then I also have now recently connected to the Salesforce Latino Force, which is it's an internal employee resource group at Salesforce. And I'm going to connect this group to them, and we'll figure out a nice way to meet. But these are internal Salesforce employees that are representing Latino Force, and they're mostly the group I work with is a lot in Texas, but either way, it's just another group of people to talk to. So we talked about LinkedIn. So this is now getting into crunch time, right? We're getting into the final month of the class. And so before I hand it off to Barbara, I do want to ask a specific question around, I'm going to try to stop sharing here. There it is. How many of you have started working on your resume? You can just raise your hand or not raise your hand. Nobody yet? Okay. I was just waiting for somebody to chime in. So I think I was supposed to share my resume. I'm going to share my resume. Barbara, Martine, if you want to share your resume with these ladies, that'd be helpful. We did go over some of the basics of a resume, why it's important, what a good resume looks like. So I'm going to share with you mine, and I'll offer anybody else on the call, whether you're a coach or have 5 cups of coffee like David. We'll share our resumes. And all I ask is, by next week, we just have a framework, just your name, maybe email, a little bio, and then we'll start filling that out over the next 2 or 3 weeks. And then the last part of all of this was, so we talked about the exam. So we just need one person to send it in, Wendy. We talked about LinkedIn. Please, please, please put a few more things, and I'm going to send some Trailhead guidance here in a minute. And then we talked about the resume. So the resume is going to be important because when we start talking to IBM or NTT, pick your company, they're going to look at your LinkedIn, but you're also going to send a resume. So it's important to remember we have to do that. The last question I have is, how many of you have taken a practice exam already on Focus on Force? You've had it for a month. There we go. 1, 2, Yaz and Aranza. Celeste, have you logged into? You've logged into Focus on Force. Okay, and then Wendy. Yay.
Yes.
Okay, so my challenge to each of you is to, in the next week, meet with your coach, your mentor, and start to talk about the results of your first couple of practice exams, because each of you may struggle in a different way. Like maybe Yaz is struggling with security, or Celeste needs help with reporting. So while we can cover some of these parts again in June, my ask is, if there are areas that you're struggling in, meet with your coach, talk about questions you have, because what's going to happen next, because today's kind of the last formal class, is we're going to really get into exam preparation, and things that get us ready for the actual Salesforce exam. If not this week, certainly next week, I'm going to log into Web Assessor, and I'm going to show you how to set up for the actual exam, how to take it, like as far as registration. We are not going to target doing the exam until the end of June, but it's going to take, we want to make sure we get things lined up and ready. So I'll send all of this homework to you guys. The last thing was the interview, right? So we were going to do some interview prep like we talked about last week. Considering I have to drop off the call a little early and I really want some resumes updated, we'll start doing the mock interviewing next week. It is a holiday weekend in the US next week, so we'll still have class, but it may be abbreviated as well. With that being said, can we answer any general questions before we hand it off to our instructor for today and our extraordinarily awesome volunteer, Barbara? Any questions? David, any comments on your side?
I'll post the link. I'm going to go through during the class today, and I'll post more profiles for the students to connect with on the LinkedIn message. So Wendy, Yaz, Celeste, check LinkedIn for messages, and I'll post the links so you can just click on them and make it easy for you. And there's also a link in the chat in the Google Meet to how to post your Trailblazer stuff to your LinkedIn profile.
So one thing I was going to share here, thank you, David, is if you guys remember Stephanie Herrera, she presented, I think it was in March, maybe February, about Salesforce Saturday. The Austin user group is really strong. It's actually the first user group in the world of Salesforce Saturday. It starts a little later, like at 10 a.m. most days. This is Zach. He is a really big friend of I know Maravis, and he got a golden hoodie this past week in Austin. And I have a golden hoodie too, but I'll explain what that is later. But this is just more of an email from Stephanie. And the only reason why I'm sharing that is because was I even sharing anything?
No.
Well, that means I need more coffee. So I was sharing this email, right? So Stephanie Herrera, who I'm highlighting right here with my little cursor, she sends out an email to everybody for Salesforce Saturday. And this past week, one of the user groups, he works at PayPal, Zach, he's a volunteer. He got the golden hoodie this week out of Austin. And so it's a really big thing to have a golden hoodie. But my point is, see, he got it presented. So he runs the user group in Austin. He's been around for a while. It's really cool to see him get that. So I'm just kind of sharing news that there's a lot going on in the community. So whether you know Twitter or you care about it, it doesn't matter. Twitter is where a lot of the leadership of Salesforce, a lot of the influencers are. And so I encourage you, if you're on Twitter, you can follow me and we can share a little bit of social media with Twitter, because that's how we engage with some of the leaders in the, let's just say, Salesforce arena. You can also follow Elavad Latam. which we have a Twitter page, and we already highlighted Wendy yesterday. And we're going to highlight each of you young ladies over the next several weeks to start to get some momentum, to start to get some, just awareness about all the incredible work you're doing. So we'll share the Twitter information for you. It's not the most important thing to do. You have a lot of other things to do, but it is an important small component of what we call the ecosystem. And as you become more educated, more experienced, you want to start to connect with people that are in the same world as you. And there's a lot of interesting things that happen. Sometimes Twitter is a garbage dump, and so you don't want to stay everywhere there. But I will tell you this, and this is just a really fun, sad, interesting story. Salesforce had a major issue. I think it was last week. They had what we call a DNS issue. I see the people shaking their head because anyone who has people that are on production that are supporting them, you probably got calls. And so all it means is Salesforce is in the cloud, and there was a major issue, and our users couldn't get access to Salesforce, so they couldn't do their job. So they have two websites, is trust.salesforce.com, and then there's like a help site. Both of those were affected too. So you couldn't even log a case to go get it fixed. So where did I go to find out how things were going? I went to Twitter. And so my point is, while Twitter isn't the perfect thing, it has its challenges with, a lot of crazy political stuff. There's a really close community that has been built there. And over the next 6 to 8 weeks, I'm going to start bringing you guys into that if you want to, and introducing you to more Salesforce leadership and influencers. Again, not number one, but really a cool aspect as you get going into this environment. So I just thought that was funny that the site was down and you couldn't even submit a ticket. By the way, it's very rare that you have Salesforce down and you can't get to it. Somebody asked me the other day, hey, can't they just reboot the servers? And I'm like, God, do you not know what the cloud is? So anyways, I will stop talking. Barbara, thank you so much. Again, I know we've moved a few things around and this wasn't on the schedule. Really appreciate it. You are a last official instructor of this course. And I will pass it off to you. And I'll start sharing some other links on what we've talked about today. But I don't have anything else on my side.
Thank you. I just want to share regarding all these community things and events and groups and that they can join. I lead the Women in Tech group in Uruguay, along with another person. And then we have a friend that runs the admin group. And we got together with the admin leader from Buenos Aires and with Elena. And also with Sara Hernandez, she leads the admin group in Santiago in Chile. So we created a group, like an event. We did it I think a couple of weeks ago, just for South America kind of thing. But we are starting like a movement for all LATAM women in the Salesforce ecosystem. So we're kind of thinking the name, maybe Latinas in Salesforce or something like that. But the idea is to have events and share knowledge and do networking, everything in Spanish. So
can I comment to that?
Yeah.
I love this, and each of you ladies should be a part of it because it's just starting. So you get to kind of be a part of something from the ground up that is led by Latina women, that is in Spanish, and you can be, like she has, trailblazer. You can be a trailblazer in this particular area. So, Barbara, yeah, I would actually ask if you can overshare as you guys get things started and have these ladies involved.
Yeah, for sure. We just started, so we're gonna create a Slack like channels for this, and so I'm gonna share the links of all the communities that are organizing all these. We're gonna have a Trailhead DX watch party on June, so you can join us if you can, if you're not in school. Hopefully you will be out by then. And everything is gonna be in Spanish. I mean, not Trailhead DX, but us watching. We're going to be speaking in Spanish. So that's the idea, is to like make all the information more accessible to people that are struggling a little bit with the English. And there are great women participating. So I'm going to share everything. And once we have everything up and running, for sure, I will send it to everyone. But I think it's good for them. Like if the English is not your native language, then it's like one more step that you need to take care of. And by the way, I learned that you can ask for additional time when English is not your native language when you're doing a certification. I didn't know that. So that's something to consider if you guys are planning to do the certification exam. I think you need to send an email to the Trailblazer community groups or something, or
Yep, you can.
Trailhead.
Can you do it in English or Spanish, or is that not an option? I thought it was.
I think it was, but then it was removed because the translation was not super perfect.
Oh, okay.
And now it's just in English, but then you can ask for additional time. So you just need to, I think you need to enroll for the exam and then send an email somewhere.
Okay,
And
I'll find out. I think that's going to be needed.
Yeah.
It's going to be needed.
You just need to let them know in advance, like 5 days in advance or something.
All right.
But I think that's going to be cool.
I'll find that out. Maybe Ismael and David keep me honest on following up on that, but I'll send a note right now, because if you get 15 minutes extra, it's important. Because what is it now? It's is it 90 minutes, or like in English, like it traditionally
110, I think.
Yeah, you have 60 questions, and I think it's maybe an hour and a half. But every minute counts. Even if you finish early, you go over all of your answers again and make sure you got it right. So I'll follow up on that. Thanks.
Well, those were my announcements. I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm going to start sharing. You're supposed to be seeing the presentation? Okay, because I never know. So a couple of you already went through the super badge. So I would like to know, I think from this group, maybe just Wendy, I'm not sure. Maybe somebody else already went through the super badge. But I would like to know if you struggled anywhere, what was difficult for you to do it, and we can share with the rest. And I think that's going to be helpful. So just a couple, what are super badges? I guess you already know. So they are like a real, or the closest to a real life scenario where you need to kind of prove or demonstrate that you have learned some skills. And they are awesome. I think they are super cool. There are 19 super badges now. I counted them. Maybe there are more. Hopefully I didn't miss anyone. And there are 5 role-based supersets. So you have the admin superset, and there are 3 of them. And then you have like the process automation superset, and then you have the developer superset. So they are cool. Like they group together super badges that are good for the role. So prerequisites, you need to have a few badges done before you can get started with or you can unlock the super badge. For this particular one, reports and dashboards, they're kind of like 3.5 hours based on the time that they say each badge will take to complete. So not a lot of time. And now that you're super rangers, I'm sure that's even easier. I would say reading carefully the requirements and instructions is super important. If you miss one line, maybe you missed an important thing. And they have this super good information on how the super badge was created and what is expected from you on each step and challenge. So I would encourage to go take a look at this information, because they tell you, oh, great, it didn't work. But anyway, it shows like how the super batch was created and what is needed and what resources you can review for each of the challenges that are included. So this is very good information. So some tips that I usually, like things that I do when I do a super batch, when I complete a super batch, just make sure you copy paste the names of the reports, of the dashboards, of the public groups, or without the spaces, extra spaces that sometimes you get. But these will allow you to just make sure that you're doing the names right, because just one spelling issue will make you go crazy, because you couldn't find, you're not able to find what is not working and why your challenge is not being passed. So this is a good thing, just copy paste. And I read each bullet or each challenge a couple times, maybe 3 times, just to make sure that I know what is being asked and that I understand. You can break it in like small things, like, oh, you need to do this report and make sure it contains this information. And so you kind of go one by one and pay attention to the details. That is super important. Okay, so let's go to the super batch very quickly. I completed this like three years ago, so I had to do it again because I didn't remember what I needed to do. That's why in this account I only have 4 batches because I created a new one. So yeah, we have the prerequisites, these batches that you need to complete. What you're going to be tested in this super batch, just folder sharing, the report builder, of course, report types, filters and cross filters, buckets, charts, and the dashboards, of course. Pre-work and notes. I usually keep these in one screen and then my org in a second screen, but I have everything open always. If you only have one screen, then switching is key. I try to start the work without installing the manage package. So that didn't work, of course. So make sure you read all these pre-work and notes very carefully and do every step. So add a type to the opportunity, pick list, install the package. Now, it used to be harder now, but now with the new playgrounds, you get a place where you just copy this package ID and install it and it's done. So super easy. Then you need to import the information. So again, once you install it, you go to the, let me open the, you open the app that is installed with the package, and it has a tab that says data import. So you just come here and click import, and that's it. So super simple. The other thing that you need to do before, I think that's pretty much it. Oh, create the public groups. So make sure, again, the names are right, because otherwise it's not gonna count or it's not gonna work. So once you do this, you can start going through the use case. So again, these are like real life scenarios. It's kind of a way to make sure that you're understanding the things, not from a do this, do this, do this, like one step at a time thing when you are following just instructions, but that you understand why you're doing it. So it gives you an example of like a company that acquired another company, and now they are trying to have the data available for the different teams so they can improve revenue, so they can make sure that support is being done properly, or that customers are not having issues and being proactive. So go through this information is really good in terms of how you get information from your business usually. So your business never comes to you and say, "Hi, I want a report with all these columns and this filter." They won't tell you what filters they need. They will tell you, "I want to see this information." So this prepares you for that. You have your key stakeholders. So this is the people that you will be working with in real life. These are going to be like your business users. So I don't think you really need to do anything with this. It's just more like informational thing. But it's good that you know. Your objects that you're going to be using, so you have standard objects and custom objects. These are installed with your package, so don't worry on adding them or doing anything to them. They are just installed, and this is for you to understand how the information is linked and what is like how they are related, the relationships between the objects, so you can build your reports. So this is going to help you on if I need accounts and I need opportunities in the same report, can I do that? Do I already have a report type for that? This helps you with that. And then you get to the business requirements. So any questions so far? Any comments? No? Okay.
I think the one thing, just more of a comment, and for some of you guys who did this, this is still okay to go through this. If you can maybe over-index on the business requirements, because we've covered it a little bit here and there, but I always feel like when we go through this, even with other classes I've been a part of, people don't have an appreciation for how complex and crazy and fun and ambiguous the business can be in their requirements and what they want. And so as much as you can just kind of shed light on examples, I think that helps. I think it would help me certainly if I was just starting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so the first business requirement, folder administration and report cleanup. So they're going to tell you we need to make sure that people has access to the different information. And how do we do that? Organizing folders and requirements. So again, copy paste if you can, and they give you here are the folders and the naming convention. So naming convention means like a standard way to name files or folders or reports, or that's what naming convention is, like follow like a guideline or a standard, right? In this case, we're going to have SolarBot and then the team or the group and then reports. So you're going to have SolarBot executive reports, SolarBot sales reports, and so on. And they tell you there's a folder that needs to be inside the support one called status report. So this is kind of easy. It's like when you're building folders in your computer, like in your Windows Explorer. And then it gives you some examples that are really good, like, the feeling of dread when you're searching for your pockets and you're searching for your keys and your jacket and you don't know where your keys are. And then turns out the cat knocked them behind the bookcase again. So you're decided to grant shelf access only to those in your household who need it, the humans. So this is kind of funny because I'm starting to think, how am I going to ban the cat to go on top of the library? But anyway, the idea behind this is who should see what, like who should need access to the executive folder and who should see the sales reports. So they give you here what to do. And this, I remember once I did it again, I remember that I made the same mistake as the first time because I skipped a line or two. So when I went to check the challenge, like for the folder X or Y, I don't know, maybe the sales folder, there was a row, a public group missing. So make sure that you go through each line, and even if you can, just check that off somewhere. That will help you make sure that you're granting access to the right people and to the right public groups. So if you don't remember where is that, so you go to the all folders. That's another tip, and I think I had that here as well. So create some folders. Make sure they are all under the all folder section. Make sure the names are correct, and grant access to whoever needs to have access. If you create a matrix, maybe in Excel, where you put all your rows here and all your folders at the top, and then you start crossing who needs access to what, that can be helpful. It may take more time, but also will allow you to make things right the first time. So then you need to reorganize the reports and make use of report types. So going back to the reports, you have all your folders, and then you can either go inside the folder and click share here to grant access. So this one is the one that came with the thing, so it doesn't have anything. This came with the package. Or you can go just from the list, again here, and click share, and it's the same thing. I'm not sharing the answers, of course. And then you need to do some cleanup. So they tell you, well, several users create reports, and they were told to move them to their private folders, but some of them didn't. So, and they don't really tell you with the same wording. So there are a few stragglers. That means they didn't do what they had to do. So Maria labeled these reports and put them in the acquisition reports folder. So you need to move them to the appropriate folder. Place the reports to delete in the report cycle bin folder. This is an important thing. I'm sorry. You don't really need to delete the report. So make sure you don't, because then you need to recreate it, I guess. Just pay attention to the folders that are created. You have a report recycle bin here. And I think that's pretty much, report and custom object. So this is the last piece on the first challenge. So during the cleanup, you notice that some users include system fields from the SolarBot and SolarBot status custom objects. Remember, you included some custom objects when you installed the package. And this is telling you these fields are not really useful for the users, so you need to remove them somehow. You cannot go and delete the fields. So how do you do that? And it tells you create a solution so users can report on these objects. And what does a solution mean? Like the first time I was like, what do they want me to do? Like create an app? Like do some formula fields? I wasn't sure. But then as you go down and start reading, it becomes more clear what you need to do. So the key piece for me was store the solution in the other reports category. For me, this gave away that I needed to create a report type. So now that I gave you the hint of what you need to do, it's going to be easier. They give you some fields that you need to make sure are not part of the report when the user creates a report using this report type. And this is the new solution that you need to build. For the rest, you can use the standard report types that are provided. And that is the first challenge. So if we scroll down, I think that's pretty much it. And you can, the other thing that I usually do when I do super badges is I go down to the challenge section and just read what they are asking me to do. Because when I'm reading all the requirements, they all seem like the same, like they are not, maybe they don't have like an index, or they are not indented in a way that I can know which of these requirements belong to which challenge. So I usually go down and see, oh, they want me to install the package, add the opportunity type to the pick list, create the public groups, establish the folder access, reorganizing reports, and build a way for users to report on custom objects. Okay, so now I know to which sections I need to focus when I'm checking this challenge. So any questions on this first challenge? No? Okay, the second one is build sales reports, and you're gonna get a lot of this in your life. So the teams start saying like the information is really helpful and they want to start building reports. And this is the first important thing you need to read. Put them in the folder you created for the sales team. So make sure the sales reports are saved in the sales folder. Accounts without solar bot opportunities. So the first requirement is they need a report that will list all the customers that they need to call and sell them solar bots. So how do you make sure that happens? So they have new opportunities for accounts that were already part of the system. And those opportunities have the solar bot opportunity type. So you need to create a report without those because you don't want to call the same customer saying, hey, do you want a solar bot? And they're going to be like, I already have one. Thank you. Don't call me again. So this tells you use a standard report type. And what I have here is some other tips. Read the requirement carefully. Browse the objects. So that is one thing that I think is important. If you go and browse the object, like open an opportunity, open an account, open a status of SolarBot record, and see what information you have there and what information you can use to add to your filters or to add to your, because maybe sometimes they tell you, oh, you need to do, and there's one example there, give the status of the warranty. And there's no status field on the warranty. So how do you do that? Sales reports, accounts without solar opportunity bots. So you can use a standard report type and you can use cross filters. So a standard report type, I would use, you need a list of accounts. So what report would you use? Accounts, again, remembering what information I want to see in the report, so that determines what report type I'm going to be using. And then you need to make sure that you don't have opportunities with the type SolarBot. So I don't want to give too much away on the solution, but remember filters and remember cross filters and how to work with them. Any questions on this report? No? So SolarBot high case candidates. So they want to analyze in this requirement the pattern of cases. So they explain something about how SolarBot works and what makes them fail or something. So they want a report showing case information, the account number, the phone number, the subject, if they are open or closed. Every time I see organized by, I immediately think on, I want them together. Like all the cases that are organized by something, I want all those together. So I don't want to be hunting for them in a list. So make sure you use groupings for that. That helps a lot. And now simplify the report by showing the phone only once. In a report type that includes two objects, when you include all the details of the second object or the related object, the first object information is going to appear multiple times because it's the same phone number for all the cases that are associated with one account, for example. So how do you make sure that you're just showing the phone once? So that's important. Again, kind of think of groupings and filters. And then to help the sales team see which customers are the best candidates for a SolarBot sale, prioritize the list by the highest number of cases. Maria added the roll-up summary field number of SolarBots on the account object. again, this is a thing that if you browse the object and see what information you have there, you know, this is telling you the field is there, but I didn't know. So I started creating the report, and I was like, how do I do that? Do I need to add like a formula? Do I need to create a cross filter? But the field was already there. So sometimes you don't need to overthink things. As a simple solution sometimes is what you need. So, and let's see what other things I had here. So use a standard report type. Again, what information do we need? Case information. Grouping and sorting will be used to validate the challenge. So check your groupings, and that will help you on passing the challenge. And then SolarBot warranty call sheet. So this is the other one that I was talking about. So now the sales team learned that they're not just selling SolarBots, but they are also selling the warranty information, like a warranty maintenance. So they want to start selling, and they want a sheet so they can call the clients to sell the information, to sell the warranty for those that expired. So they want the account, the phone, the warranty status, and the warranty, and when the warranty expired. And again, if you browse the information, let's go very quickly to this, and I'll open just one. It's going to tell you, like, you don't have a lot of fields, but you have how I can see the warranty here, and I can see the expiration date. So these are the two things that I can include in my report. Let me see. To ensure the report works as intended, keep users from adjusting the criteria. So I think we saw this when we did the reports and dashboards class. I don't remember. But when you create a report, you have some options to make sure that nobody else messes up with your report filters. Let me see. So the wording is confusing. What tells you the status of the warranty? And this is something that you will have in your day-to-day life. Like, hey, I want to see, I don't know, in this case, they want to see the status of the warranty, but you don't have a status field, and you're not going to create one just because one person decided that they want to call that the status. So how do you translate the requirement to the information that you already have? Because they know the status is like in warranty, or I don't know, without. So it's out of warranty. So you can just translate when you know the information and when you know the fields. And don't forget to add that additional setting in the edit mode of the report to ensure they don't change your filters. And these are all the sales reports. So again, we scroll down and we can make sure that we're not missing anything. Design the accounts without SolarBot opportunities. So they want 3 reports I can see here. And that's it. So any questions on the sales reports? Perfect. Then we have the support reports. And we're pretty much like, I guess the idea is you start having more knowledge on how they are asking things and how to translate the requirements. So you start to get better as you move forward. So now they tell you, well, maybe they are having like a better support system, and they need to be prepared to support the teams or the customers that are calling. So now they want these top case drivers by SolarBot ownership. So how do we figure out how the cases are distributed? Like they want to know the reasons behind the calls maybe, or the cases, and how that relates to how many SolarBots the users have, the customers have. And again, organize the report by SolarBot ownership divided in 3 categories. We don't have categories, so how do you create these? Again, we just saw the object and there were no categories in there. But you do have in the account, we were just told in the previous report that in the account, somebody had how many bots they own. And I don't know if this is going to be shown here. Maybe not. But we were just told in the previous that somebody created a field with the number of bots, right? So we can use that one. And how do you organize an existing field into like sections or groups? Well, we have buckets for that. Aggregate cases by reason. Aggregate, that is an interesting word. Like it may not seem super simple to think about. How do I aggregate? What does that mean? But that is like putting things maybe on top of each other. That's the way that I can think of. So you have your number of bots and you have them categorized. And then I want to know the reason of the case. So how do I do that? By aggregating, like I put on top of each other. And that's the way before creating a chart so you can see that, because I'm visualizing the information, you can just group. So a way to group by ownership and then by reason will give you this information. Then it tells you the fields that you need and show individual cases, but not record totals. So don't forget to remove your totals. Let me see what I had here. So you will use a bucket field and just details, not totals. I think that's pretty much it. Then you have the status averages. These are really fun reports. I like these reports. So during your meeting, somebody sent this person like the information on SolarBot customer. And this person has all the information to answer the questions, but she doesn't have like right there and then what she needs in terms of averages, because these SolarBots are, I guess, robots that go over the different SolarBots, and then they have average info, like they store information, daily information on readings for temperature and for usage and whatever. But now she wants to know, because maybe the robot goes out twice a day or 3 times a day, and she wants average information. So how do you build that? She's asking you for a report on status averages, and she wants this organized by date. So this robot goes out every day, twice a day, 3 times a day, but she doesn't want all the details of every time the robot goes out. So you need to find a way to just show the average information. Again, here we have the aggregate word again. That is so confusing to me. So how do you do this? Well, I used the custom report type that we built because I wanted to have SolarBot information, but the status as well. And we saw from the diagram of the objects that those two were connected. When you have fields that are numeric, you can choose to display the sum, the average, the max, and min values. So remember that. And you don't need to show the totals or the count information. And that is one tricky part, because when you're creating a report and you don't want to show details, and then you need to move around the columns. If you hide the details, you won't be able to move the columns again. So make sure that you have all your columns in place before hiding the detail information. And this one is, I think this is the one. No, this is the previous one because I had to build everything. What was the name of the report? Oh, the average. So you have the average information, and I'm not showing, well, this one is already changed, but you wouldn't be showing like April 1st 3 times. So you need to make sure that you're using groups, like you're grouping information. So any questions on the status support reports? Any questions on how to figure out what they're asking for? On how to better understand the requirements as you read them? Okay, so the R&D, which is basically research and development, those are usually the people that are like doing some research and trying to come up with better ways to do things and improve technology or improve the business. So they want to have a report to understand the SolarBot's product strengths and weaknesses. And we've talked about the temperature and the power generation and all this information. So they want to have a trend. What is a trend? Like, what does that mean? When I think of a trend, I usually think of a report with a chart, and that's just my mind, that will show me information across time. Because a trend will tell you, oh, this has been going on maybe, or over time, this particular thing is going to go up or it's going to go down, or in this case, yeah.
I was going to say in sales, you want to see trends of good stuff happening, sales going up, or if you hired some people to do a job, maybe sales, maybe support, and they're not doing it. And I'll tell you right now, I have a team, a Kanban team that we do delivery a little quicker. And I'm looking at their output, and certain people are taking longer to get tickets done, right? And so that's a trend that I would want to look at and then address, whether it's through more training or firing. Kidding. Not yet. We're not there. But it makes it helps leaders and organizations make informed decisions to help their business. So that's it.
Yeah, like you want to see maybe over time, maybe across other options or categories, how things are working or not working. That will help you, as Secretary was saying, to make decisions on, I need to give me people more training, I need to fix these special robots to work better in these circumstances or whatever. So a trend usually means that you have to see information across maybe time or maybe categories or maybe other aspects. So they tell you, they want you to organize these in 4 categories, the lowest range displaying first at the top. So these are temperature ranges, and they say, well, I want this to be this amount of degrees, and you have to categorize them as low, medium, high, or very high. So something very high is not very good, I guess. And then you need to show only the average kilowatt hours and average panel temperature for each range. So this average information, we kind of built it already in the previous report, so you're going to be using something similar. And again, instead of doing it across time, you're going to do it across temperature ranges. So how do you build that? The R&D. You use groupings again. So this is a little changed because of the following requirements, but you use groupings to make sure you have these ranges. And you're going to use probably So I use the custom report type. You can, again, choose the average information or the sum of the fields. When you're grouping by something and you have a numeric field or a numeric column, then you can choose to show this information. No totals, no row counts. And this is what I was telling. Columns can be rearranged while the details are displayed. Once you hide them, then you cannot move the columns. So if you want to move around things, make sure you display the details and then remove them again. So let's go to the next one, the executive report. So executives usually don't want a lot of information on details. And they are usually focused on sales. So how do I make the company profitable, right? So the overall business outlook is good. Now they are eager to reevaluate the opportunity landscape after an analyst tells them that opportunities are 10% more likely to close successfully if the customer has at least one SolarBot. So they ask you for this report, SolarBot loyalty revenue, and they want a graph. So this is the first time that we're adding a chart to the reports. And they give you the fields that you want. So this gives away what type of report you're using. They want the opportunity name, account name, type, probability amount, and expected revenue with sum. So again, that numeric field options that we have. And this is organized by stage. And again, organized for me is just making them together, so group them. All opportunities for all time should be included. That is something that I don't know that we mentioned. Probably we did in the last class of reports. But when you create a new report, let's say opportunities. For some reason, Salesforce already adds, because I guess it's something that is useful for most businesses, but it already adds some filters. So you want to go here and make sure that the filters are right when you start changing them and when you start creating the report, because by default for accounts, they show you my accounts instead of all accounts. For opportunities, they give you this date range that you might want to change. So in this case, this tells you all opportunities need to be included, but sometimes they don't. So just make sure that you check that. And then they tell you the report includes a new column, adjusted expected revenue. And this shows what happens if the analyst is correct. So the analyst said opportunities are 10% more likely to close successfully if they have at least one of these robots. So, and they tell you don't create any new fields. That was the easiest way, wasn't it? So anyway, this should show currency value. Again, keywords to bear in mind. Currency value, so it doesn't need to be a percent. It doesn't need to be a numeric. 10% higher at the subtotal and total levels. Keywords on these places is where you need to make this. If the account has at least one SolarBot. So this is a formula that you need to create in the report, and the values need to be displayed at these levels. So what helps with that? Usually you have these options here, right? Well, I'm not organizing by anything, so I'm not grouping, but if I do, then you get these options to add formulas. And we want them at the subtotal and total, so that gives away that is a summary. The graph shows the original and adjusted expected revenues next to each other by stage, with stage at the bottom. So this pretty much tells you what type of chart you need to add and where to save the report. So again, this report uses a standard report type, and you need to add a summary formula with an if statement. So what happens? And this is a good example of things that you get asked in the world. Like, I want to see, maybe I've had cases because I do support as well. So I've had cases of users that want to see like additional information. I had one person that wanted to see the information, like I needed to group by a date because they wanted to see how many meetings they had scheduled already throughout the, I don't know, the quarter maybe or the year, but they want to see the actual date. So if you group by just that particular field, you lose the actual data because it's not displayed in the report because you're using it to group it. So I had to create a formula to say, so if this date is in this month, then use it. I had to do some things there, but like sometimes you need to add information without adding new fields. Like you need to group by I don't know, categories or things that you don't have really available, but you can calculate maybe. So using these formula fields in reports is super useful. Any questions? Any questions on how the formulas work? What type of information you can add in a formula and a report? Okay. And I think, so we already passed challenge number 4 and challenge number 5, and then you get to update reports, and we're just 2 challenges away to finish the super batch. So update existing reports, implement changes to sales, support, R&D, including 3 graphs. That sounds easy, right? So we go back up, and here we have it, complete updates to reports. And they start telling you that, well, they started using the information, but then they need more information. So the sales team love the reports, but they need some changes. And of course they do. They always do need changes. And you send them a report and they say, well, that's fine. But now that I see the information, I want more, or I want less, or I want to see it differently. So now they tell you accounts without SolarBot opportunities. This is the first report we built, and I want to organize it by billing state. That's kind of simple. Again, organize by kind of means group by. They also want to expand this SolarBot warranty call sheet because they want to include customers whose warranty is going to expire in the next 45 days. So how do we include these? So this will use, let's go here. This one's just easy to do because we're just adding a grouping. The other one, we need to update the filters and use filter logics, which is amazing. I love filter logics. They allow you to do amazing stuff, like show information in different ways. So let's do. So these 2 things are not showing me anything because maybe we are using 2 different types, and I could have done this differently, but, and again, in Salesforce, you have a lot of ways to do things, usually, not just one way. But this is the same field, and that's why I don't see any information. But if I add a filter logic, that will tell me, well, show me just number 1 or number 2, then I can see information popping up. Filter logics are great because you can tell, well, I want this condition to be met and this condition to be met as well, or I want this or this other. So that way you filter your data. And they tell you they are focusing on a few key states. So if you follow the steps as they are laying it out, I think you're going to be just fine. So you're just adding this warranty expires in the next 45 days, but you already had a filter for this. So you need to think a little on how you're going to change that to make sure that you're including everyone that does not have a solar bot opportunity, that the solar bot is out of warranty, but also those whose warranty is going to expire in the next 45 days. So this is a filter criteria. And then you're also just focusing on these states. This is super simple. And they tell you here, best practice for managing filters. So they are just giving it away. You need to work on filters in this challenge. Then you have modifications to the support reports. You pick this one, and then the team plans to reach out and provide education to the customers where the equipment complexity is the reason for the cases. And they want to add a phone number, and if the case is open in the report. So how do you know if the case is open or not? Again, you can browse the objects and see what fields you have available. There is is open and is closed. Those are standard fields on the opportunity object, on the case object, I'm sorry. They might be for the opportunity as well. And then you need to add a chart. Should help users visualize the relationship, and this is the keyword, the relationship between SolarBot ownership and case reason. And the relative proportion, this means, what is a relative proportion? So for the total, how much those account for. So that's just need to make sure that you're adding it to the 100%. So top case drivers, you need to add some fields to the chart, to the report. You need to add a chart and make sure you select the proper chart type. So the chart type needs to account for 100%. So make sure you do that when you're doing your chart, your bar chart. And then you have the averages. They tell you here all the details on how to create the chart and what you need to, how you need to make it, like placing non-numerical categories on the Y. Then we have the SolarBot status averages that need some tweaks. And again, we have the trends. They want to see trends over time. So we talked about how trends work and what that usually means. And they want to see it by week instead of by day. We had this group by day. Now we need to change that to show it by week. And this is a feature that I really like. When you click here, in this one, I'm not going to have the option. But if I group by date as well, wrong place. You usually have a lot of options on how to group dates. So this is a great tool for your reports. And they want to add a graph. So this is kind of simple, I think. So you need to change the filters, add a chart, and then they tell you that you need to add the chart to the SolarBot record page. So what does that mean? What is a record page? You need to remember everything that you've been learning. And the record page is the page that you see when you open any record, right? So if I go here, this is my record page. So you need to add a chart here. This is super big and maybe on the side would look better, but that's up to you, I guess, or up to your user, actually. So every time you open any record, that is the record page. And you have a couple options to add or modify the pages. So if you go to the gear icon on the top and just select edit page, so that's an easy way. That's how I usually do it because I am right there. So I just go to the edit mode on the Lightning page something. And the other option you have is to actually go to setup. And then you just search for the Lightning App Builder. You can search for your page here or create a new one. And you can see the type of the page that you're creating. And the last but not least option, you can search for your object in the Object Manager, and you can go to your Lightning record pages. And you can create a page from here or update it from here. So you have at least 3 options to change the page. For me, the easiest one is just to go to the record and click Edit Page from the gear icon. That's super easy. Include only information about the individual solar bot. That is a feature that you do when you're adding something to the page. You can just add a filter to the component. So make sure that when you're adding your chart, you click on it. So you can see every time you click on a component, you get on the right sidebar all the different features and like settings that you can change for any component. So make sure that you click on it so you can see the different options here. Okay, R&D modifications, they are requesting some changes to this report. So the overall relationship between temperature and this other thing is becoming clear. So they want to make some changes on these ranges. So they want to compare average kilowatt hours and average final temperature by SolarBot model. So again, more groupings, and I think that's what I have here. So you need to add more groupings and you need to add a chart. And I'm going to share with you a resource of a page. It's a blog by Gemma from the latest Be Architect. She writes amazing blog posts, and she has one for super badges. I don't know if for all super badges, but at least for this one for sure. And that is amazing. You can go there and use that as a help. And then again, you have a ton of pages and even YouTube videos now. I came across some YouTube videos explaining each challenge. And then we have the dashboard. So the dashboard is kind of odd, but this will help you when users are going to you saying, hey, I need to see this information and I want to see information of different reports in the same place. So I don't have to jump from one report to another. A dashboard could be a solution. So they tell you, name the dashboard SolarBot Impact Dashboard. You have to create a folder and give access to the right people. And then they give you instructions for each component. I found, so don't cheat if you can, because it's interesting to figure out what you're doing wrong when you are not getting the challenges passed and to think how to solve that. But there are ways to like kind of know the details that you need to include in each component. So what I would say is have your reports handy because they don't really tell you. The instructions are kind of vague sometimes. So they don't really tell you, oh, you need to use this report for this component. You just need to remember the reports that you created and then what information they had and if they match to what they are requesting here. So the first one, for example, uses the opportunity report you created. And well, we kind of remember we built an opportunity report. They are not giving you the name, so you need to browse a little bit, maybe your reports and see which one is the one based on opportunities. And then they give you the information that you need to add. So this is very similar to the chart that you created for the report. So you can use that as an option. And then some information here. The second component, case drivers and SolarBot ownership, how cases are distributed. This one, I struggled a little bit because I chose the wrong information, but like the wrong chart type, and it was not passing. But then I realized that they were saying if customers have zero, some, or several bots, so we had a report where we already have that information grouped by those numbers. So make sure you're using that, and it's similar to another chart we used. The third component gives an overview of the temperature and which solar bot model is most effective. So we built a trend report on temperature, so you can use that one. You're basically using, I think, 4 reports from all the ones you built. How do you make sure that you're using the right component? Well, it depends on what you're reading. And every time you read one of these requirements, it will give away what component you need to use. So for example, this one, temperature and kilowatt hour relationship, they tell you each of the 4 models should have its own line. So that kind of gives away that you need to use a line report, line component. And they give you the sizes as well. The sizes are kind of odd to me because the way they look are a little funny. They are very like narrow to me. They could be wider, but anyway. And finally, the opportunity overview shows a list of all the opportunities. So this is kind of easy. And for the final challenge, you just need to share everything or make it more visible. So the SolarBot impact dashboard, they make you change colors. So that's just theme. And then they make you add a filter to the component, to the dashboard. That's super simple. And finally, they ask you to add it to the homepage and subscribe to our report. So all of those things are kind of easy. And then you can pass your final challenge. Hopefully. So these are the things that you need to review. You see how everybody has issues and errors? If I go to the dashboard, it says that not all. Well, I wouldn't know why. Anyway. Bueno, nos dejaron todos, ¿eh? Bueno, y eso es prácticamente todo. No me acuerdo si acá tenía algo. Acá está el link. Yo esto se los voy a compartir. Se los dejo con Ismael para que lo suban a la plataforma. ¿Preguntas? Wendy, que ya hizo la super batch. ¿Qué te costó más trabajo? ¿Recuerdas?
Creo que era el penúltimo porque todavía tuve que checarlo como 2 veces en videos de YouTube diferentes y ya quedó.
A mí
Sí,
también me costó el de que tienes que poner como amarillo, rojo y verde de los... que es como el penúltimo. Y entonces lo tuve que checar y luego también otra cosa... no me acuerdo si era de las bucket en los reportes, me fallaba bastante eso y era como, también cuando los primeros 2 que hice, reportes, los tenía que poner en un folder y se me olvidó por completo ponerlos en el folder, entonces ahí estaba como, ¿qué hice mal? ¿Qué hice mal? ¿Qué hice mal? Y luego ya cuando vi los 2 primeros no los había puesto en nada y fue como de que, no.
Sí, una forma fácil de ver en dónde están los reportes es acá en donde están los recientes, por ejemplo, o si vas a todos los reportes. Y entonces ahí te dice en qué folder están. Y ahí te puedes fijar fácil si los tienes que mover o no. Los, ¿dónde estará? ¿Cuál era el de los buckets? Los buckets son interesantes. Por ejemplo, capaz que el de R&D. ¿Dónde está acá este? A mí, cada vez que tengo que hacer buckets, lo primero que se me olvida, y debería de acordarme, pero es elegir el campo. Entonces, les sugiero que vayan como en orden. Entonces, primero elijan el campo para el que van a hacer el bucket y después le ponen el nombre. Y entonces, porque si no, no tienen las opciones. Si yo acá creara una nueva, estas opciones que te dan acá en el panel van asociadas, por supuesto, al campo que estás eligiendo para agrupar. Entonces, em, si yo voy acá a los modelos, por ejemplo, me cambia los valores que tengo acá. Dependiendo de qué campo sea, si es un campo numérico, em, por ejemplo, estos, ¿no? Me pone opciones para agregar rangos. Entonces, eso es lo que tienen como que tener en cuenta, ¿no? Que capaz que ya quieren hacer el bucket y no tienen las opciones acá abajo y es porque no han cambiado el campo, ¿no? Que a mí siempre se me olvida, yo siempre pongo el nombre primero y después veo, no puedo hacerlo como yo quiero y no puedo porque estoy en un campo equivocado. Así que esa es una cosa a considerar. Em, bueno, los groupings, siempre que les digan que está organizado por tal o cual cosa, hay que hacer los groupings. Usualmente usan solo agrupar los, como los renglones, no siempre creo que este es el único en donde se agrupa por columnas también. Y en el dashboard, cambiar los colores de los componentes puede ser interesante. Sobre todo ese que mencionaba Jazz ¿no? El Evangelism Countdown. Porque acá, por defecto, estos colores están al revés. Como que siempre se piensa que en lo más es verde y lo menos es rojo, ¿no? Y acá es al revés. Entonces hay que darlos vuelta y como que uno dice, no sé cómo hacerlo. Yo solo cambié los colores, pero, o sea, como das clic acá, pero aparte no hay nada te dice, para cambiar el color, da clic aquí. Entonces sepan que das clic acá y puedes cambiar el color. Bueno, ¿y qué más, chicas? Nada. ¿Qué más les costó? ¿Qué les fue muy fácil? Así les damos a Aranza y a Celeste encouragement para hacerlo. ¿Les tomó mucho tiempo?
A mí no, o sea, siento que me atrasé más ya cuando, como los primeros 3 eran como, ok, fácil. Ya como el penúltimo y lo que era el antes de ese, creo, ya era como de que, ok, ¿qué estoy haciendo? ¿Lo estoy haciendo bien? Ya era más como que esa duda de que si lo estoy haciendo bien y si no lo hago bien. Y nada más en uno me equivoqué y luego fue en otro, en el de eso, que creo que fue como el último, en el de los buckets y en el otro que era así como de que medio revuelto, pero le entendí como, no me tomó mucho tiempo en sí, pero creo que sí, si le entendieron a los otros pasados, como a los que te pide para completar la Super Batch, creo que sí le van a entender.
Sí, está interesante. Account General.
Siento que a mí lo que me gusta de eso es como que puedes más jugar con todo, como,
Claro.
sí, como que puedes más agregar componentes de tal cosa, ponerlos, quitarlos, ver qué pasa si lo pones, ver qué pasa si lo quitas.
Sí, y la otra cosa es que medio que te deja, o sea, te hace como darte cuenta si lo estás haciendo bien o mal. No precisamente bien o mal, ¿no? Pero si vas como por el camino que debes ir porque alguien te lo checa. Entonces, o sea, no es como cuando uno está haciendo cosas nomás por hacerlas y yo qué sé, no sabes si estás yendo por el camino adecuado o no, ¿no? Entonces acá medio que sabes que alguien o algo te lo va a revisar pero te dejan antes hacerlo como a ti se te ocurra, ¿no? Entonces eso está bueno de estas super badges. Así que bueno, no sé si tienen preguntas de esto, de otra cosa, si ya se tienen que ir. Em, si ya están listas como
Ahora,
para esto. Sí,
sí, andan un poquito cansadas, yo creo, porque tuvieron una semana de exámenes y yo soy el culpable. Pero están trabajando duro.
sí, sí. Bueno, lo que sí, lo último que que les comento es este grupo de mujeres como de latinas en Salesforce puede estar interesante para que se sumen. Los horarios de las reuniones van a ser usualmente de tarde, alrededor de las 5 capaz, hora de México, mazo. Em, Así que si en algún momento se pueden sumar, yo cuando tenga más información se las paso, pero lo que está interesante es, hay gente de todos los niveles y la comunidad de Salesforce, yo no sé hasta el momento qué tantos se les ha hecho llegar el mensaje o qué tanto lo han internalizado de lo que es la comunidad de Salesforce, de la gente y cómo te ayuda y porque está Héctor y está David y están todos los chicos y los voluntarios y medio que estamos ahí, yo qué sé, con ustedes y ayudándolos y dando clases y lo que sea, pero en el mundo hay un montón de gente que siempre está dispuesta a ayudarte. Entonces, yo creo que esto les va a dar esa visibilidad de lo que es la comunidad, ¿no? Y estamos tratando de crecer la comunidad de mujeres que se dedican a Salesforce en Latinoamérica. Entonces, yo creo que puede estar bueno y siento que además las cosas son en español, es capaz que mucho más fácil a veces entender algunas cosas, ¿no? O poder plantear preguntas y realmente entender la respuesta, decir, bueno, ¿y a ti qué es lo que más te ha costado? ¿O cómo hiciste para pasar la certificación? O eh, yo qué sé, yo en una certificación, por ejemplo, justo me dieron ganas de ir al baño, por ejemplo, horrible, ¿no? Entonces quería terminar rapidito porque quería irme al baño. Eh, y esas cosas como que te hacen ver que la gente es una persona igual que tú, ¿no? Por más que tengan 12 certificaciones y tengan, yo qué sé, 20 años trabajando en la industria. Entonces es gente que sabes que les puedes preguntar y apoyarte en ellos para cuando necesites. Así que les voy a pasar toda la información para que se sumen. Me encantaría verlas por ahí en la próxima reunión. Em, y bueno, ya saben lo que necesiten, estamos a las órdenes. Vayan a descansar, buen fin de semana para todos. Y, y nada, nos vemos en las próximas clases si puedo entrar. Muchas gracias.
Gracias. Hasta luego. Nos
Gracias,
vemos.
Gracias,
Bárbara.
Hasta luego.
adiós.
Bye.